What's up, Central Illinois business owners? We know that insurance and employee benefits are one of the most expensive, confusing, and frustrating hurdles that you face in your business today. Garrett and I work with Central Illinois businesses to create insurance and risk management programs and employee benefit solutions that reduce risk, enhance your business, and maximize your profitability. Head to CIBLinsurance.com to learn more about insurance solutions that are specifically designed for your Central Illinois businesses and to watch our educational videos about work comp, employee health insurance, commercial insurance, and other insurance products to help your business go to the next level. Go to CIBLinsurance.com. We'll see you there.
Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit or wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with a Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, before we get into today's episode, I might have to edit that out. I don't know. Before we get into today's episode, I want to make a few announcements because we've got some new stuff happening here. First off, we've got a brand new sponsor. Our brand new sponsor is Studio 21 Photography. Melissa Harden out of Mattoon is our sponsor. And Melissa's specialty is doing professional headshots. So as far as what she offers, she kind of has that unique offering. She works with business owners, and we all know our first impression a lot of times is either on your LinkedIn profile, your social media profiles, your website. And if your pictures, I always hear, I've never been on a dating app, but I always hear, like, you see the people holding up the fish in their profile picture. You probably don't want that if you're trying to be a professional, trying to sell your services or product to someone. So reach out to Melissa at Studio 21 to get your professional headshots. The other item, we've got a merch store. We've had it for a few weeks now, but we've got a brand new merch store. It's you can find it at CIBLmerch.com. We've got hats, shirts, cups, I don't know, a bunch of stuff in there. So check it out, get yourself some merch, get your friends some merch for Christmas coming up. The other thing, our merch store is actually created by Jedco Sales out of Effingham, who is our other sponsor. So they've got a special going on for all listeners or guests of the CIBL podcast, where they can set up your merch store, your swag store for your business, with your logo. You pick the stuff that they put in the merch store. You can order it online, and they do all the fulfillment. So I know we're going to talk a little bit about some online clothing sales again today, I think, with our guests. So I'll go ahead and get into it. Today's guest is the owner of the Strawberry Finch, based out of Springfield, Illinois. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Katelyn Klos. How are you doing, Katelyn?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for being patient with me while I made those announcements. Hopefully the listeners don't hear me mumble when I first started. I'm going to edit that out, but
no, don't edit it, man. Leave it in.
Just leave it.
It's authentic.
Yeah, it keeps it real.
Perfect.
That's right.
Great. Well, Katelyn, we're excited to learn about your business. We talked a little bit before we hit record about what you do and some of the unique things you offer to your clients. But before we do that, Katelyn, I'm going to kick it to Garrett, and he's going to take you through our speed round questions.
Yep.
All right, let's do it.
So you've studied up because you said you listened to a few of our episodes prior. So it sounds like you're going to make this way too easy on yourself. So we'll just jump right in. The first concert that you ever attended?
I think it was Keith Urban when I was 8 years old, because my mom was like really into him, and it was before he was big. So it was just this little tiny arena.
Cool.
There we go.
Favorite movie?
Okay, this is a hard one. I don't know that I really have like a favorite movie, but I think if I had to pick one that I would watch like over and over again, it would be Tangled by Disney.
All right. Your favorite ice cream flavor?
I'm going to give you a controversial flavor, and that's mint chocolate chip.
All right. Yep, that's either love it or hate it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you
that's
either
one of
like
those
it or it
things.
tastes like toothpaste. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it.
iPhone or Android?
Oh, iPhone all the way.
All
I've
right.
used both,
There we go.
and yeah, iPhone.
Gotcha. Well,
I
we
like
can
it.
now we know we like you. You know, because if you're on,
Yeah.
if
I
you're on
made
that,
it.
yeah,
We don't have
if
to-
you
we
were
don't have
on
to
the
stop the
Android
podcast.
side, we cut you off real quick around here. No, favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
All right.
Instagram, hands down.
Okay.
And you know, we talked a little bit about the show, but you said you've kind of lived in some different places. Tell us why you're in Central Illinois, what you love about Central Illinois.
So I'm here mostly because this is where the rest of my family is. So like everyone in my family lives in Central Illinois. They all grew up in the small towns around Springfield. So when my dad got out of the military, we moved back here, and I've just kind of been here ever since.
Cool.
I personally, I like it here in Central Illinois. I feel like, I've been to the big cities and I've been, to different countries, and I like the small town vibes here in Springfield, but there's still some things to do, though I'm sure some people would probably argue with me about that. But
Springfield's still a big city to Garrett and I. That's where
Yeah.
we go to do all the cool things, right?
yeah.
Outside of Walmart, there's not much we have to
Yeah.
do in Little Shelbyville. But
Oh,
I agree.
yeah.
Springfield still has enough that you feel like you're in at least a little bit of a city, but
Yeah.
small enough that you know people and feel comfortable
Exactly.
there. So
Oh, for sure.
no, that's awesome. Well, Katelyn, nice work. You breezed through those questions pretty easily. You can, at this point in time, we're passing the mic to you. You take it for as long as you want. Tell us about your story, your business. Take us as far back as you'd like. Bring us up to speed with what you got going on today.
Okay, sure. So I guess we'll start with my parents have always had side businesses. When we lived in Japan, they did cake decorating. They made wedding cakes for people. When we lived in South Dakota, my mom did like embroidery, my dad did woodworking, and we were always going to those vendor markets. And I just remember that as a kid. And then after my son was born in 2021, I just remember like looking at my closet and thinking, there's nothing in here that's for me now. Like it doesn't fit me, it doesn't fit my style. And I knew that I couldn't be the only one who like couldn't find the things that I wanted at the big box stores. And I also knew that as someone who wanted to support small, sometimes it's hard to find small businesses that are like within my budget, that are more in the affordable range of things, because small businesses do have higher costs. Their prices tend to be higher. So you'll hear my child in the background.
That's okay. It's part
Hey,
of
it
being a
makes
small
it
business
it's
owner.
authentic, right? There you go.
So I wanted to like create that that space where women could go and they could find the clothes that they wanted, that were like versatile as a mom. Like I'm literally on the ground probably 90% of the day because my child is too, so we do everything on the ground, and I need clothes that stand up to that, but I also don't want to spend a fortune, and I also want to support local. So that's kind of why I started my business, just to kind of like try to give people those options. And I have that like entrepreneurial spirit, like it's in my blood. It's just something that I've been around my whole life, and I've always wanted to work for myself. So that's kind of how I got started. And now I'll be 2 years open, and on January 27th is when I filed for my LLC. So
cool.
I'm kind of excited. I am only $800 away from doubling my sales from last year.
Nice.
And that makes me really excited. That tells me I'm going in the right direction. Yeah, that's kind of really all I have as background. So
Very cool. No, that's awesome. No, that's a good story, because I think there's a lot of people listening to this episode or this podcast in general that are not necessarily working in a business of, a couple hundred people. It's a lot of small business owners, maybe some people who are interested in starting their own thing. They just don't know where to go or don't know how to start.
Yeah.
So with that, Katelyn, once you figured out that this is something you wanted to do, what was your starting point? I know you mentioned you filed for your LLC, but as far as like launching your business, the Strawberry Finch, tell us about your process there.
So way before I got my LLC, I already knew that if I ever opened a business, I wanted it to be called the Strawberry Finch. If you ask me how I came up with that name, it's just I liked how it sounded. And I also, if you ever look up the bird, they're very pretty birds. So I was like, all right, cool. I like that. I can take it and make it a logo. Cool. So I actually, okay, we're going to go a little bit back. My degree, my college degree is actually in biochemistry.
Okay.
Whoa.
So I graduated with that from UIS, but before I was a science major, I kind of bounced around, through different degrees. I started out as graphic design, did that for a year, decided, I don't want to do that anymore. Then I went to business school. I did that for a year. So I kind of knew the steps that I needed. Like I knew I needed to have like a plan, like a business plan, like who are my clients? Who are my competitors? What are my price ranges? I knew all of that stuff. So I already had all of that ready. Like I had a business plan ready to go. And then I actually started by selling my clothing that I wasn't using anymore on like Facebook Marketplace. And just, the amount of people who were just like buying my things, I was like, wow, I could do this. Like I can make this a business. And my husband was like, just go for it. So I knew like I wanted it to be legitimate. So I immediately filed for my LLC. Then I filed for my EIN. And because a lot of wholesale places, you can't buy if you don't have an EIN. You have to have that to buy wholesale because it proves that you're a legitimate business. So I did that first. And then I made my first wholesale purchase, which was kind of scary. I bought like $3,000 worth of inventory. And I was like, oh my God, I just spent like all this money on this inventory. Like, now I have to sell it, right? Like this is like legit. I literally have to sell this. And it just kind of went from there.
Wow. That's crazy. That's cool though.
Well, one, I've got to say I'm impressed that you had a plan, because I don't think that with all business owners that we talk to, it kind of started like that. Two, we already know you're already smarter than Derek and I if you've got a science man. So, I mean, I feel like, Derek, we probably just need to turn the show over to her at this point.
I know.
Right?
No kidding. If you could teach everybody how to do a business, that'd be great. Well, there was two things. Sorry to cut you off, Garrett.
No, I'm used to it, Derek. It's
okay. Yeah, thank you. So there's two things that struck me right there, that people who are listening that maybe want to get into business, but they're afraid to spend that $3,000, or maybe it's more or less for their particular business. The way that you started was with stuff you already had, though. So there was I'm not going to say that it was a $0 entry, because there's probably still some expense behind the scenes, but you started trying stuff just to see, maybe learn a few of the ropes as you are getting started. And then you're like, okay, this can work. I'm going to take that jump and make that $3,000 purchase.
Yeah.
So that's something that
don't
sounds
have
like
to start big. You don't.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel like you have to invest a lot of money in the beginning. But you don't. You really don't, especially if it's not something that you're really sure you want to do, because if it's not something you're sure about, that's a really tough choice to make. But I know a lot of people who said, I started doing this because I liked doing it. And then other people were like, hey, like, I really like your candles, or I really like this. And it kind of grew from there. So you don't have to make that big purchase. I've just always been that person that's like, go big or go home. Yeah. So that's just kind of how I do everything. And that's just how it went.
Good.
So my question, after you spent the $3,000, right? Did you continue to did you create a store immediately, or did you continue to try to sell that off of Facebook? What were your next step? Did you immediately create a website?
My immediate next step was to make a website, because me personally, I know, like, as a consumer, a business with a website is more legitimate, trustworthy than a business who just sells on Facebook. It's also easier to purchase on a website than it is to purchase on Facebook, even though they're trying to make it easier. It's just one of those things where I was like, if I want this to be what I want it to be, then I need to do it right from the beginning. So Shopify has this deal where you get like 3 months for $1. I was like, all right, time to build a website. So I signed up for Shopify. I built my website. I do everything myself. I do all my graphic design. I do everything on my website myself, except for I have like a carousel that had to go in there, and that required some coding. So I hired my sister-in-law to do that for me, because I'm like, I don't have time to teach myself that. But
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. You answered my question. What platform did you use? But Shopify seems to be a popular one, and I don't think you can go wrong with Shopify. There's a bunch of people that we've had on the show that use Shopify. It's ready to go. You pick your theme, upload your stuff, and all the payment processing is included in Shopify. So if you're thinking about building a website out there, that's probably the first place I would look at.
Yeah.
At least if you are.
And I think Shopify has natural integrations with things like Instagram and Facebook, and that makes it really easy for sharing across social media.
Yeah.
And then in terms of designing your website, a lot of it's drag and drop. So it's not like you have to be this super tech savvy person to make your website look nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And does it still give you free options to go in and alter your website at any time then?
Oh yeah, I literally change my website all the time.
Sure.
So right now I have it set up for like promoting our gift cards for Christmas, and then I can put different collections on there. It's really easy, and I mean, that's just out of all the website hosting that I looked at, I think Shopify is probably the most small business user friendly.
Nice. Cool. Hey, Central Illinois professionals, do you know where people go to learn more about you? They typically either go to your About Us section of your website or your LinkedIn profile. And guess what the first impression is that they see? That's right, it is your professional headshot. Your headshot is part of your brand. Your brand should proudly show the world how passionate you are about delivering quality products and services to your customers. At Studio 21, you won't get the boring old headshots that everyone else has. When you get photos with Melissa Hardin at Studio 21, your headshots will show off your strength, confidence, and approachability. To book a professional headshot appointment for you and your team, call Melissa at 217-962-0048 or visit www.melissamharden.com. That's MELISSAMHARDEN.com. And let Melissa at Studio 21 help you stand out from the crowd. What's up, Central Illinois? You know what you all need? You all need some CIBL podcast swag. And thanks to our newest sponsor, Jedco Sales, you can now find our swag at CIBLmerch.com. You can find t-shirts, sweatshirts, polos, hats, and more, all classically adorned with our famous CIBL podcast logo. If you want to represent and support your favorite podcast, check out CIBLmerch.com. That's CIBLmerch.com. If you like our store, you can also build your very own business swag store with the help of Jedco Sales in Effingham, Illinois. Jedco is owned by previous CIBL guests, Andrew and Laren Dial. They've set up a special discount offer for CIBL guests and listeners to set up your very own custom branded swag store. You can now offer branded apparel to your employees, customers, and fans, and Jedco will fulfill all the orders for you. Contact Jedco at sales@jedcosales.com. That's sales@JEDCO sales.com, and tell them that Garrett and Derek sent you. Let Jedco help you get noticed. So with Shopify, obviously you've got a number of products, and it sounds like one of the things that you are unique with is you are, and I apologize because I'm terrible with clothing. You are a size inclusive boutique. Is that right? So tell us a little bit about what that means and how that sets you apart from other boutiques.
Sure. So size inclusive means I carry sizes small to 3X, but not necessarily like a lot of people or places will say they're size inclusive, and they'll say, well, we carry this style in small to large and this style in 1X to 3X. All of my styles are 1X to 3X. Cool. So like if you see it on my website, you can get it in a small or a 3X typically. Sometimes I can only go to 2X, just depends on my manufacturer, but I try really hard to find those styles that do have that size range and that I feel like are modern and that are what people are looking for.
Yeah. Very cool.
And I know you mentioned something when it comes to quality, because sometimes I feel like maybe some of the boutiques get a little bit of a harsh name just because of the consistency of the clothing, the type of clothing. You mentioned that you try to purchase handmade items. Was that, or how did you word that earlier when we were speaking?
I do carry a lot of handmade items in my boutique. Clothing is not one of them.
Okay.
That's actually very expensive for handmade stuff. But a lot of like my accessories, like my jewelry is handmade.
Okay.
I have some of it's handmade in Ohio. Like what I have on my head right now, they're called head hugs. Those are handmade in Oregon. But I do have manufacturers that I have sampled and that I trust, and that's who I buy from because I know the quality is going to be there. Because I don't want to put out, and I've purchased products where I got it in and I was like, ooh, this isn't good quality. I can't sell this, and that was like a loss on my end. But learn.
Yeah. Okay. Do you do all of your? Do you order all your products, or do you do any drop shipping? Is there anything that you're able to do like direct fulfillment for some certain products?
I used to do drop shipping because there are some things that are really hard to carry as a small business, like shoes or jeans, because the sizes are just, there's such a huge range of sizes for those things, and they take up a lot of space. So I used to do drop shipping, but I wasn't making as much money as I wanted, because obviously costs are higher with that. So
Sure.
I've actually stopped drop shipping, and everything that is on my website is something that I carry in person.
Wow. Okay.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Nice.
So for all you listeners out there, I'm sure in 2023, a lot of people have heard of drop shipping at this point. So drop shipping is basically, if you're wondering, and maybe I'm just explaining something that doesn't need to be explained. So if I owned an online store and I sold a product, it would be like if I would order it directly from the manufacturer and ship it directly to you as a client. So it does not come to me as the store owner first. It's shipped directly from the manufacturer to the client. So that's what drop shipping is. And it's gotten a bad name on like Amazon and that type of stuff, because you get a lot of, it's usually on like smaller products. You get some products that are drop shipped that are not really taken care of, but a lot of stuff, a lot of even like your bigger appliances, or a lot of that stuff is often drop shipped as well. You just don't see it happen behind the scenes. It's a way of doing business that you trust your manufacturer. If you've got, like Katelyn has done, she's vetted her manufacturers. Obviously she doesn't do drop shipping at this point, but it's a way as a business owner. If you maybe don't have much money to start, maybe you can start with drop shipping and then build up your income, and then you can purchase some of your, whatever your product is, and then ship it from your house. But you're right. From what I've heard from a lot of people, is a lot of your profit is taken up in the shipping costs from your manufacturer and from, order fulfillment from your manufacturer. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to do it. Sometimes it makes more sense to get your own product and send it from your home office or office, wherever it happens to be. So anyway, that's my drop shipping rant. Sorry, I got into it. One thing you mentioned before we started recording was pop-up events. Tell us a little bit about how you use pop-up events and what they are.
Okay, yeah. So a pop-up event is essentially, it's a vendor market. So it's kind of like a farmer's market, but with people who don't sell groceries.
Okay.
So I actually got started because my mom sent me a link on Facebook and said, hey, they're doing this vendor event in Farmersville, and they're looking for people to come set up with their businesses. It's only $30 to be a vendor. Do you want to try it? And I'm like, okay, yeah, because my business was like 3 months old. And so I wasn't getting the sales I wanted. Obviously, I'm only 3 months old at that point. But I was like, I got to do something different. So I literally borrowed some tables, and I borrowed my parents' super old tent that had holes in it. I set up in Farmersville and I sold some stuff. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. I can do this. So this year I will probably have done almost 30 pop-up events now. And that's where I actually get the bulk of my sales, because especially with clothing, people want to see it in person. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. And it just makes a big difference. I highly recommend anyone who's just starting out, try a pop-up event, because there's just something about having that personal connection, that in-person event that makes a difference in your sales.
Very cool. Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. We have a lot of vendor fairs down on our Main Street. I think my video just left, but we have a lot of pop-up events on Main Street in our little town here. And I know that's how a lot of our small businesses at least get their start. And a lot of them, like you said, a good chunk of their business comes from those events. And that's good. I like to see small businesses supporting small businesses like that, because you're able to help people get their name out. Now, do you do any events like lives on Facebook or social media?
No, I know people still do lives. That's not my thing.
Okay.
I was never a person who actually participate in a live, really.
Sure.
So it's like, why would I even try to host one?
Yeah.
But me personally, I think they're going away. I
don't feel like I see them around as much as I used to.
I think it's like one of those things that's phasing out, and people, especially if you look at Consumer Reports, so the biggest upcoming generation of people who have money to spend is Gen Z, and Gen Z wants to shop in person. They don't want to shop on Facebook. They really don't want to shop online. They want to go and like see things in person and have an experience. Like that's their whole thing. So if they're the people who have the money to spend, I want to kind of try to target them and do what they want because, you know, that's where my stuff's going to go.
Yeah. Very cool.
So speaking of money to spend, we're getting into that time of year, right? So Black Friday's coming, Christmas is coming. Any specials or anything that you want to leak as far as, you know, what you've got coming up? We didn't really talk about that, but that question's been brewing here with me for a little while.
Yep.
Yeah. This is something I think about all year round, actually, because as a small business, Black Friday can kind of be hard, especially to compete with those bigger stores. But I am doing some specials. So we're going to do, there's BOGO 30% off on all cardigans. I'm doing spend $50 on a gift card, get $10 free. And jewelry will be, all the jewelry will be 25% off, and all of like my bags and purses will be 20% off.
Sweet. And that can all be found on your website, correct?
Yeah, so it'll all be on my website, and then it will also be available. I have 2 markets actually back to back, the Friday after Thanksgiving and the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and those will be available in person also.
Gotcha. Very cool. So website is strawberryfinchapparel.com for all you listeners out there. And one thing I'm going to do, Katelyn, usually we schedule these to go out on Friday, and it's crazy because yours would be scheduled to go out on Black Friday, the 24th. So I'm going to go ahead and post it the day before Thanksgiving, just so we have some time for people to hear it.
Awesome.
And hopefully maybe jump onto your website to take advantage of those sales. So yeah,
nice.
I'll make a note to myself. So I'd post it on the 22nd. So yeah, if you're listening before Black Friday, or even is it only Black Friday specials, or are they extending through?
It's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
There you go. So listeners, don't wait. Go to strawberryfinchapparel.com and get yourself some good stuff. There's a whole list. If you look at Katelyn's website, cardigans, dresses, tops, bottoms, outerwear, activewear, loungewear, accessories, bath and body. You're doing a good job, Katelyn. That's pretty impressive. That's very impressive.
For all of us guys out there, I know I'm probably going to get in trouble with some of the females, maybe by saying just buy a gift card. If you can spend $50 and get an extra 10, you know, exactly. It's kind of like Kohl's Cash with my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, she thinks Kohl's Cash is worth gold sometimes. So guys,
how much money they saved.
Yeah, go ahead and hop on here and get a gift card for your significant other and help out. So
that's very cool. The other thing I notice is on your website, Katelyn, you have a save 20% right now button. Tell us a little bit about that sale.
Sure. So that's what we call a lead capture. You probably heard about that. Yeah. So people put their email in there, and then you get a 20% off coupon that you can use right away. And that's how I grow my email list. It's worked. Yeah. It's been pretty successful. Like most of the people who sign up for that, they do open the emails that I send, and I do get sales from my emails. I don't push out a lot of emails. I probably should do more.
It's all good. Hey, that's all good. And that is something I think a few episodes before you mentioned you just listened to him. He mentioned that on his website, he's got basically a lead capture. Yeah. That's something that any business is able to do. Give them something free, give them an opportunity to sign up, and they put their information in, and then you're able to share your updates for your business, your sales, whatever happens to be. And the larger you get, the more sales you get. So that's something that any business can do. One thing, how do you do your gift cards? Like, is it just do you do them like handwritten, or do you have a service for that? How does that work for you?
So with Shopify, it's an integrated product.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my dog.
That's okay.
I'm going to close the door.
I thought Derek was getting hungry or something, starting to bark. I wasn't sure.
Well, it is Friday afternoon, and I had a good lunch, but I can always do an early dinner.
I'm with you on that. I like to eat early. So Shopify has an integrated gift card thing, and you automatically can do it online. So it's like if you were to buy an online gift card from Old Navy, it would just get sent to your email. And then if I want to do physical gift cards, which I actually just got some in, you have to order them through Shopify. They come in with a little QR code on them. So when I'm like at a market, I do all my sales on my phone. I just scan the QR code on my phone and I can activate it from there.
Very cool. Very cool.
And I know one question we'll probably get a lot, or a lot of people think about when ordering from an online store is, what does your shipping typically look like? Is it how many days does it typically get, return processes, things like that?
So in terms of actual shipping, because I'm still pretty small, I don't get a whole lot of online orders. I can ship out literally the same day. Okay. Cost is a $5 flat rate unless you spend, I think it's like $100. I have it. You get free shipping.
Okay.
I typically go through either UPS or USPS because they're more reliable. They're faster. I usually say between 5 to 7 days is when people can get their packages, but they tend to get delivered earlier going into the holiday season.
Sure.
Give them a little bit more time.
Yep. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So you are a member of Illinois Local, which is how we connected. Tell us about your experience with Illinois Local, and I guess tell us about Illinois Local in general and why you joined.
Yeah, sure. So last year I was desperately looking for some kind of event to do in December. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to look at the fairgrounds website, the state fairgrounds website, and see like, what do they have going on? And I saw that Illinois Local had an event for Small Business Saturday. And I was like, all right, I got to get in. I was very nervous because it was the highest vendor fee I'd ever paid. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a huge fee for me to pay. Like, what if I don't sell anything? That's always in the back of your mind. But that has been still to date my best market I've ever done.
Awesome.
And when I was there, Gemma, who runs Illinois Local, she's like, you need to join. And I was like, yeah, I plan on doing that. So I did. And honestly, it's been really great. I really like the photography that they do for us. So I actually am scheduled for another photography event in January. So that really helps me. Have those, like you said at the beginning of your podcast, like professional photos really help. They help make you look legitimate. People take you seriously. I've been able to do a lot of networking through Illinois Local. And of course, that's how I met you guys. So I personally always tell anyone, I'm like, hey, you need to join Illinois Local.
There you go. Nice.
It's just a great experience. It's good networking. And even if all you do is join so you get the discount on the vendor event, like I think it's worth it.
Very cool.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
So you said you were coming up on 2 years in business in January. Is that correct?
Yes.
So going into the third year, are there any changes, anything upcoming, or, what are your thoughts looking like for the next year?
Well, I think my main focus, like I'm really good at in sales or sales in person.
Okay.
I would really, really love to grow my online sales. I get sporadic sales throughout the month, but nothing consistent. And again, at only 2 years of age with my business, and like I don't do Facebook ads. I don't do ads of any kind, actually. So it's something that I want to grow organically. But that's going to be my main focus for my third year in business, is really growing my online presence. And I can tell it's starting because now when I go to events, people say, oh, I've heard of you. Oh, I've seen your logo. And I'm like, yes, like that just makes you feel so good because I know that what I'm doing is working. But yeah, that's going to be my focus.
Great. That's cool. That's cool. Well, one thing, I'm going all the way back to the beginning of the podcast. I just want to share one tip for business owners. You mentioned that you kind of put together a business plan to figure out, okay, how's this going to work? And I know a lot of people may be thinking about doing the same thing if they want to start a business, or maybe that's their hang up is I don't know how to do a business plan. I'm done. I'm not going to do it. I can tell you, myself and my wife partnered with another couple, and we started a small little business. I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, give me an idea of what a business plan should look like for XYZ business. And I ended up I kept digging deeper and asking more questions. And by the end of it, I had like an 8-page business plan of basically the whole business lined up. And it took me 15 minutes probably, after digging in. So that's a tip for all you people who are wanting to maybe put a business plan together and you don't know where to start. It's a cheat code. I mean, it did it for me. So
that AI tools, like people are afraid of them, but don't be. Use them to your advantage. I actually use them to help me write my product descriptions.
Yeah. Really? Oh, that's cool.
That's great.
That is a good idea. Yeah, you can. And I've barely tapped into its abilities. Like I've hardly scratched the surface, I'm sure. But that was one thing I was like, wow, that was easy.
Yeah.
So
what more of a cheat code could you ask for if you're starting a business, right?
Yeah, really.
I mean, yeah. No,
Katelyn, you were already way ahead of the game by creating your own business plan. I feel like Derek, 60 to 70% of the people that we talk to didn't. That's always what they say. We wish we would have started with a better game plan, but the main thing is to just start. So very few, it seems like, actually even sit down for a few minutes to itemize it. They just jump in and go. So
yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, because honestly, even though I had that, there's still so much that I've changed since I started.
Sure.
And you'll just constantly be learning. And it's, again, like you just said, you just have to start. You just have to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, exactly. Katelyn, we are actually pretty close, maybe a little bit over the 30-minute mark. Before we jump off of here, any last thoughts or ideas or discounts or anything that you want to share about your business?
No, I think you guys asked some really good questions, and it was great to be on here to talk to you guys. And I can't wait to listen to it, to hear myself talk.
Hey, great. Well,
Nice.
For all you listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a review. It'd be greatly appreciated. You can also find us on social media, mainly Facebook and LinkedIn. You can connect with Garrett and I there personally as well. Until next time, Katelyn, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Katelyn.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.